Welcome to The Explainer. Let's get right into it. If you're a fan of the animated adaptation of Renegade Immortal, you probably think you have a pretty good handle on the whole story, right? You know, the ruthless cultivator, the insane power levels, that totally unrelenting drive. But what if I told you there are some massive, absolutely foundational gaps left out of what you saw on screen? Seriously? What if the protagonist you know is really just a shadow of his true self? The animated series actually skipped up to 50 chapters of the original story. We're talking 50 chapters packed with brutal, highly emotional reality. So today, we're going to dig into the true, unvarnished foundation of Wang Lin's terrifying willpower. We'll be relying strictly on the original source material to understand exactly how this absolute legend was forged. Section 1. The Hidden Truth. The Burden of a Prodigy. Before he was a feared cultivator, he was really just a boy. We meet Wang Lin, or as his family affectionately called him, Taiju. He was this frail but incredibly brilliant village kid. Because he spent his days buried in books while all the other kids worked the fields, his parents placed literally all of their hopes, their dreams, and their immense pride squarely on his scholarly success. They were banking on a quiet, prestigious life for him. But then, everything completely flips. His fourth uncle shows up with a rare, totally life-changing gift, a recommendation slot to the legendary Hang Yue sect. Now, this is a mystical realm of immortals, flying swords, and a level of power that is just completely unattainable for ordinary mortals. In a heartbeat, the safe path of a humble scholar is completely tossed out, replaced by this impossibly dangerous road to immortality. Moving to Section 2, the immortal dream of villages fawning praise. The sheer joy from Wang Lin's parents is just overflowing. His father feels decades of family rejection and harsh rural poverty just wash away in an instant. They're so thrilled they throw a massive feast for the entire village. Suddenly, all these relatives who used to shun them are showing up with lavish gifts and nonstop praise. So, the stakes and the expectations placed on this frail teenager, they are now incredibly, dangerously high. But you know how these things go, right? This dream quickly spirals into a complete nightmare. The Hang Yue sect's selection process is just downright brutal. Day 1 is the talent test. Wang Lin fails instantly. Zero spiritual affinity. Meanwhile, his arrogant, naturally gifted cousin Wang Xiao just breezes through it. Days 2 and 3, that's the grueling endurance climb up this endless mountain staircase. Wang Lin fails again, ultimately passing out from the sheer physical toll. Finally, Day 4 at the Sword Spirit House, an invisible force violently rejects him. 3 tests. 3 absolute crushing failures. There was actually a Hang Kui sect elder watching that endurance climb, and he perfectly captured the tragedy of it all. He pointed out that while Wang Lin's perseverance was completely unmatched, his total lack of talent just made it an utter waste. Listen, while everyone else gave up, Wang Lin literally crawled up those stone steps on bloody, torn knees and shredded fingers for days. He was out of his mind with exhaustion, driven purely by the terrifying thought of disappointing his parents. He possesses absolutely zero innate magical talent, sure, but his sheer grit, it's genuinely terrifying. Which brings us to Section 3, Humiliation and Despair, the Vulture's Circle. After feeling so spectacularly, Wang Lin has to make that agonizing walk back home. And that celebratory feast we just talked about, it instantly mutates into a total nightmare of public shame and betrayal. The whiplash from his relatives is just insane. Before the test, remember, they brought all these lavish gifts, showered the family with fake praise, and fawned over Wang Lin like he was this once-in-a-generation genius. But the second he returns as a failure, the vultures start circling. They literally demand all their gifts back. They spit these venomous insults right at his parents and openly mock Wang Lin as a total waste of space. Watching his father seemingly age 10 years in a matter of seconds under all that humiliation, well, that becomes the critical emotional anchor that permanently forges Wang Lin's burning desire for vengeance. This unimaginable despair triggers Section 4, the fall and discovery, into the abyss. Totally unable to bear his parents' quiet suffering, Wang Lin makes a desperate midnight escape. He is absolutely determined to hike back to the sect and try again. But on that treacherous mountain path, he's ambushed by this massive, bloodthirsty white tiger. With zero way out and certain death staring him in the face, he actually throws himself off a cliff into a bottomless gorge just to avoid being eaten alive. But as he's falling, this mysterious suction drags him into a hidden, bone-filled cave midway down the cliff face. He's starving, he's trapped, his arm is completely broken, and he's forced to eat the raw meat of a dead bird that got sucked in there with him. And inside this bird, he discovers a strange, ancient stone bead. At first, he actually thinks it might be a dantian, one of those mythical energy centers from an ancient beast rumored to grant immense power or miraculous healing to anyone lucky enough to consume it. Okay, let's slow down here for a second because this right here is where everything completely changes. Wang Wen begins a really systematic, almost scientific discovery of what this artifact can actually do. He notices that morning dew forms on the surface of the bead. Being completely desperate, he applies this mysterious dew directly to his broken arm. To his absolute shock, the swelling, the pain, those deep, nasty wounds, they vanish instantly. He meticulously tests this over the next few days and realizes he has basically stumbled upon a supreme, world-altering treasure. Section 5. The Underdog's Secret, a Loophole to Immortality. Using the bead's healing dew, he manages to survive the fall and escapes the cliff. He reunites with his terrified father, who had been desperately searching for him alongside a sect disciple. And here is the ultimate irony of the whole situation. The Hengyue sect actually accepts Wang Lin, but purely on a public relations technicality. Basically, they didn't want the rumor spreading around the local villages that their brutal rejection drove a young kid to suicide. That would completely tank their future recruitment efforts. But make no mistake, they absolutely punish him for forcing their hand. They make him an honorary disciple. And let's be real, that's essentially a glorified slave. His daily quota? 10. Every single day, Wang Lin is ordered to fill 10 room-sized vats of water from a distant mountain spring. If he doesn't fill all 10 vats, he doesn't eat. It is a task specifically designed to break him physically and mentally, just to force him to quit on his own. But see, they have no idea about the bead. Wang Lin secretly weaponizes his artifact to survive this impossible grind. He starts experimenting even more. He finds out morning dew is the most effective for healing and energy. Night dew is highly effective too, just slightly weaker. And if he dips the bead in spring water, it cures his physical fatigue instantly. By drinking this bead-infused water, he effortlessly cuts his impossible workload in half. This leaves all those arrogant disciples totally baffled, and more importantly, it gives him the time and energy to quietly begin his secret path to cultivation. So we have to end with this pretty provocative question. Armed with endless grit and a secret artifact, how exactly will this completely untalented underdog conquer the cultivation world? What you should really take away from all this is that the harsh mockery, the sheer despair, those agonizing bloody failures, they weren't just filler chapters. They were the exact anvil upon which the legendary, ruthless, black-hearted king was forged. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deeper look changes how you see Wang Lin's epic journey.